Where's Clément? Hello, can you hear me? Oh, perfect. I can hear myself as well. Maybe this is loud enough, isn't it? Anyways, we're going to be doing most of the talking today, so um, thanks for coming for this session that's a bit different to other sessions, hopefully, where you're going to be participating and learning about how we could get to near zero emissions and resilient buildings. Yeah, come in. Yeah, come. So I'll just off by saying I'm Melanie Jansing. I work for the UK government. I'm a technical advisor, and I work on whole life carbon and how to implement near zero emission buildings and support things like the Buildings Breakthrough and the ICBC, etc. So today we're going to introduce the session, explain to you how the game runs, what you're here to do, and what you're going to learn from today. Then you're going to get into teams. That's why the session is a bit different. You're going to be in teams of 5. And then we'll play the game for about 10, 15 minutes, and then discuss what we've learned from doing this negotiation. Oh, can you still hear me? Oh, thank you. Now I feel like I'm a famous rock star. So I told you, we work for DESNZ, the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero, and I work in a team called the Energy Research Team. And we're a team of engineers and scientists who support policymaking and make sure they're evidence-led. So we come up with the evidence and find the evidence to support what government, especially in the UK, will do, and we look internationally to see what are other countries doing to make sure that what we do aligns with other countries. Who has seen this figure? Then you know that, and you're all in the Global Buildings Pavilion, so you know the Global Status Report, and you know that buildings are a lot of emissions, and about 37% of them of global emissions related to energy are from buildings. You know that most of these emissions are from energy consumption, from heating and cooling, and as a result, 96 countries have policies to regulate energy consumption. And you know that a third of these emissions are embodied emissions, which come from the construction materials. And there's only 7 countries regulating these emissions. Not the UK, even though I'm here today. But also we can see here that the global footprint of buildings is going to double by 2050. And these embodied emissions are going to be becoming increasingly important. And that's why whole life cycle is important, and we're playing this today to think about whole life cycle and circularity of buildings, which is the sum of all the environmental impacts. Who here has heard of the term whole life cycle? Yes, so this slide is going to be boring. Yes, what this is the operational part, and this is the embodied emissions part. So yeah, it's about considering the whole thing. Reason why we're not doing it is because of multiple challenges, like data, for example. Steel is internationally traded. It's really hard to know where the steel comes from. In the UK, we import loads of steel. We import half our steel. We import 22% of our cement. 70% of cement is made in India, China, and Japan. So the data behind that isn't necessarily accessible by all. Also, there's so many methodologies to measure emissions. This is just a map of them. This figure is supposed to be complicated because it is. So it's just saying there's loads of different ways of measuring emissions, and we need to align how we do this internationally. And also, 3 years ago, I was not an expert on whole life carbon. And now, as a policymaker, I had to become an expert. I'm probably still not an expert because I make games about it rather than do any policy about it. But the idea is that we want to enable other countries and others to go on this learning curve that I went on and my colleagues went on to learn more about whole life carbon, all these methodologies and all the data challenges. So we created the Whole Life Cycle Policy Coalition. It's a working group in the Materials Hub. Our sister working group is the Circularity Working Group. And we are co-leading this with the World Business Council for Sustainable Development and the Life Cycle Initiative to try and raise awareness about life cycle assessments. And the working group has about 180 members from 41 countries. Our aim is to improve data collection, agree on complex LCA methodological aspects, upskill policymakers like myself, and diversify the voices working on whole life cycle, because it's very much always the same people learning and talking about it. So we wanted to create a hub where loads of places and countries and from people from different backgrounds could learn about it. We're not doing anything new. We're just a place to coordinate this action from existing initiatives. So this is just a map of what initiatives are doing in this space to just say, we're upskilling policymakers in a way that other organizations are doing it, and we're just helping coordinate that. So to coordinate it better, we consulted our membership to identify 10 recommendations on whole life cycle for the buildings breakthrough. Who's heard of the buildings breakthrough? Some people haven't, so this next slide is going to be useful. I'm going to explain to you a little bit about the buildings breakthrough. It's part of the breakthrough agenda, which is we started at COP26 to try and coordinate action by initiatives and check that every year we were delivering on what we said we were going to do. So every year, initiatives say what they're going to do, and then the IEA, in this case Will, wrote a report saying, did we actually do what we said we were going to do? And there's 6 priority actions. So there's different breakthroughs, one about cement, one about steel, one about hydrogen. And there's also one about buildings that was launched last year by France and Morocco at COP last year. And now it's about implementing and delivering this. It's facilitated by Global ABC, hence why we're here. And it's endorsed by 29 countries. And it's got these priority actions, these actions that we need to do and deliver against every year. And what we're trying to say is that whole life cycle underpins each of these actions. So one of the actions, for example, is standards and certification. We need to standardize and certify near zero emission buildings. And whole life cycle is absolutely essential to be able to do this. We need to create demand for low carbon buildings. And for that, we need to measure them again. So whole life cycle really it underpins all of this. And one key thing that's the theme of today is that the buildings breakthrough aim or vision is to make near zero emission and resilient buildings the new normal in 2030. So today we're going to take this phrase, make near zero emission and resilient buildings the new normal by 2030, by saying, can we do this together now, today, and make near zero emission and resilient buildings the first COP near zero emission building and resilient building in 2030. I preempted my next slide. Here we go. So this is an AI-generated near zero emission and resilient building. But we're today going to do this in 2030. You'll be in groups of 5. One of you will be the host nation for COP in 2030, and you'll have stakeholders, and you'll have to together develop this building. And you'll have to use these recommendations that I talked about. So before you're going to use them, I'm going to have a few more slides of words, and then it's your turn. But the first one is, the first 3 recommendations are around data and methods. So the first one is definition of near zero emission and resilient buildings. How do we even get to, we can't get to it if we can't define it, right? So let's define them. Let's define it around whole life carbon and resilience. Can we bring resilience into whole life carbon definitions? Second one is alignment of whole life carbon standards. Remember that messy figure with all these standards? Let's try and align that. The third one is accessible and high quality data. You can't certify a building as low carbon without knowing what the data, being able to rely on the fact that the data behind it shows that your certification is valid. Recommendation 4, benchmarks for building emissions. So we need to try and have benchmarks for what's a good or a higher carbon or lower carbon building, and then set targets in the aim of making them mandatory. So like France has, for example, they've set limits for whole life carbon on buildings with a trajectory for how they should reduce over time. The 5th recommendation is interoperable product standards. To be able to design a low carbon building, you need to be able to procure low carbon materials, and you need to have standards that are interoperable, that work for timber, that work for bamboo, that work for traditional materials, that work for steel, and that work for cement. So, and every industry has their own standards, so we need to work together to create interoperable product standards. Number 6 is common language and diverse context. When we were doing this, these recommendations, we didn't just come up with them ourselves, we consulted with the members. So we consulted with over 100 people from 40 countries to come up with this. And one key thing that came up all the time was we need common language, and there's such different contexts, because what's green for you isn't green for me, so we need to define this together. So that's why this recommendation is there. And number 7, drive investment. Nothing can happen without investment. Real estate, as we heard this morning, is 60% of global wealth. So we need to invest in lower carbon buildings. Recommendations 8 to 10 relate to circularity. They were developed with our sister working group, the Circularity Built Environment Working Group, and they aim to prioritize retrofitting in existing buildings, seek to use circular materials and design materials to be circular, and then also design for circularity. So when you design a building, a new build, think of the end of life, think of how you can reuse it. So now you know the 10 recommendations. You know the buildings breakthrough, which has a goal and a vision to make near zero emission and resilient buildings the new normal in 2030. So you have all the tools to deliver this together. So the challenge today, I said to all of you, is that you will need to negotiate to develop the first near zero emission and resilient building. This beautiful AI-generated building, you want to make it real. So, and this, you'll be using cards, and you'll based on who your character is, you might have different objectives. You might have different recommendations that you want to use, and you might want to have different objectives on cost or on carbon. On cost and carbon. So yeah, meet your cost and carbon objectives and meet your recommendation objective. I promise you you'd be in teams. So you'll have a host nation and then 4 other stakeholders, and you'll get a little card telling you who you are, what recommendation you want, and what your objective is in terms of cost and carbon for the project. This is what your cards are going to look like. So you'll have a stakeholder card. For example, here you have a circular material supplier. Surprisingly enough, the circular material supplier wants recommendation 9, material circularity. And also you'll have a cost and carbon objective. So this character would want the project to have a maximum cost of 4 and a maximum carbon of -4. So they'll be quite incentivized for low carbon cards. On the right-hand side, you have action cards. So you'll be given action cards that you have to choose. So you have to choose 4 out of 11 together to take forward. The action card here, for example, is open data access. You make a commitment to publishing whole life carbon data for free and have wider benefits. This card is related to recommendation 3, and it will give a cost. It will add one to the project cost and remove 3 from the project carbon. And as I said, you'll have 10 cards. Well, actually, you'll have 11. Sorry, we changed the rules. You'll have 11 cards, and then you'll have to go down to 4. Note there's 11 cards because there are some wild cards. So these are cards that don't relate to any recommendation. And so you might have to negotiate because you only have 4 cards, and you all have a recommendation objective. But it might have the benefit of reducing emissions or reducing costs. This is where you're going to have different opinions and different ways and strategies of playing this game. So I think hopefully you've got it now. We're going to be in teams, and you're going to have to work together so that the cards come up with a cost and the carbon objective that you want, and you get the recommendations that you want. And after this, we'll come together and discuss how would this play out in real life, and what your thoughts are around the recommendations and what this has taught you, this negotiating process in this massive hub where everyone's negotiating about how we can work together to achieve our goals. Did I tell you about the host nation yet, the special card? No. So one of you is a special, and you have to elect your host nation. And this character doesn't have a preferred recommendation, but instead it seeks everyone to be happy in their team. So it wants all of their stakeholders to meet their recommendation, and that's how you get your points. So here you see, if you have only one of your stakeholders has their recommendation, you get 0 points. However, if all 4 of your stakeholders get their recommendation, then your team gets 10 points. So you're incentivized to meet your recommendation, but you're also incentivized to, in a separate way, to get points for the total cost and carbon of your project. You'll also be given a little reference card with yourselves to make sure you can follow the game, but essentially it will be in 4 steps. First step, you'll introduce yourself to your team and meet your team. Second step, you'll choose 2 action cards. Fourth step, you'll choose 4 together. You'll negotiate 4 together. And then the fourth one, you'll sum up your score. So hopefully simple enough, 4 steps. And we're going to walk you through each step. So first, meet your new selves. So I would like you to sit into teams of 5, please, and I'll distribute to you some stakeholder cards.
Come here for a review.
No worries, no worries.
Sorry, that's why I was
No worries.
in the midst of it.
Yeah.
Give me some desk.
Yes, go distribute these teams.
I'm going to give these out to the team.
Yeah, and sit in a team, I think, if we need to, because we need
Yeah.
people to be in teams of 5, absolutely.
I give
So
the 5 cards
to one team. Yeah, so
Okay.
just envelope per team. Are there 5 of you? Okay. So you're 3, you should go here. I think, are you staying or are you going? Okay, so are you staying, Tim? So this is a team of 5, so you've got your cards. I think we might need you. Do you want to participate? You sure?
Yeah, sure, thank you.
5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 3 groups is perfect. Oh, they've got cards.
Everyone
Great.
with the cards.
We need one. Oh, we have one. Great. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 groups. Oh no! There is 1, 2, 3, 4. There is enough team for a 5th team, I think. I think there is enough if you want. I think there's enough people if you guys want us to do one together. Yeah, do you want to? I think it'll be more fun than. Yeah.
Under.
Do you mind going to play with them, please? Do you want to play with them? We just need a 5th person, and then we've got a team.
Doing with these two?
Yeah, over there.
Is it better just for us to circulate? Or not? I don't know.
I think you should all know. There's enough people
I'm
who know
going
the
to-
game. Yeah, I'll just find you a 5th person, and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, just come, no? Oh, no,
I
you
can't,
are.
that'll be really hard if I. Let's just see if there's one extra person. Hi, we need one extra person who wants to play a game for 30 minutes.
13 minutes.
Yeah.
We have an event in 10, so
Oh no. We need one extra person to play a game. Are you available?
She's available.
Are you available to play a game? You have like 20 minutes. Do you want to play a game?
Sure.
You will? Ah. Oh wait, I think we found people. Okay, great. Perfect. 4 teams, great. I think we actually find it. Or maybe go there. And then,
So we've got to aggregate all the numbers here. don't we? That's the two. Yeah, that's right. We need to be below it. We can't.
the phone. Phone? Yes. Do you mind taking it? Sorry, no. I'll do that. Sorry. Hopefully you all come up with a team name and a host nation and you know what your objectives are. Great. Your action cards. So distribute 2 to each and 3 to the host nation. And then you'll read 2 and propose 1 to each other.
2 each?
Yes. So Here are your carbon action cards. Distribute. Oh, you haven't finished. Oh, really? Okay, I'll let you finish your step one. Have you guys got your team name yet?
Oh no, we haven't done that.
Yeah. You need a team name. So your objective is this. So this is your recommendation that you want,
Okay.
and this is the total cost of the project and the total carbon. So for you to get points, yes. So you have ultimately to select 4.
Okay.
Um,
Get to the numbers.
yes.
Get to the numbers to
Yeah.
get our
Exactly. Yes. So basically, you read 2 each, but you're actually ahead of all the other groups.
Because we're smart.
Yeah.
Crusaders.
So you read 2 each, and you propose them to each other if they meet your objective. Oh, that's a mistake.
We have 2. Okay, let's.
Oh, maybe I gave you the wrong. Okay, wait. Actually, I gave you the wrong pack. Use these. Use these. These are. Sorry. Yeah, that makes more sense. Are you ready for your action cards?
We've added them together, 14 and 19, minus 19, yeah?
No. So it's not aggregated. So the action cards aggregate. This is your personal objectives,
Okay, sorry, I messed it up.
and you've got a recommendation that you have as well.
Okay, all right.
So you, for example, your goal is to use recommendation 1.
Okay.
Your goal is to use recommendation 2. And you want the cost. Huh?
What do we need to do?
You've used these cards. First, you need to introduce yourselves to each other. So now you're going to have these cards, and you distribute. You distribute 2 to each other, 2 to everyone, and 3 to the host nation.
Okay.
And you suggest 2 to each other, 1 to each other, basically. And then as a team, you have to select 4, and they have to meet your recommendation and each of your individual costs and
Out of
costs.
all these ones, we have to select 4.
Yeah.
Not Caroline.
So this is the action card. So you will distribute 2 to each other, 2 to everyone, and 3 to the host nation.
Random.
At random, yeah.
And then you have to propose to each other which cards you want to take forward. So if it meets your objective, and then as a team you have to negotiate
Okay.
for 4 cards overall.
Okay.
All right, now you should all be at step 2, which is choose an action card. So you'll have action cards each, and you'll read your cards and propose 1 or both to take forward to your team. Oh, you don't have any. Yeah, so basically here, your character is the host nation, so you want everyone to agree. Your character wants alignment of whole life carbon standards. So you want recommendation 2 to be played to get, and you also want ultimately the total cost in carbon. You have quite a low carbon, so you'll be incentivized to have low carbon overall. So you'll see here each card has a carbon and cost impact.
And everyone has to pick one of their cards.
Yeah, so you present them to each other, and then ultimately they're all in the rounds.
Okay.
But it's just so you can't read 10 cards at once.
No. And so then we end up with the top 4.
Yes.
Okay.
So then you choose 4.
We feel like one of ours is the one that
Yeah, so you can suggest it to each other.
Is it a numbers game or are you trying to get your recommendation action?
You want the recommendation action and the cost and carbon.
One maximum points, yeah.
necessarily line up to your.
No.
Right,
Yeah.
but somebody probably
But
has
someone
a
has
card
it.
that does.
So that's when you negotiate.
Are you all clear?
10 of those to
Yes.
go through.
So you give 2 to each to everybody at random, and the host nation has 3 cards. And then, based on who you are, you want recommendation 6. So you have recommendation 6, so you like this one. but you also want the total cost of the project. So when you add all the plus all this, you want it to be 2 at most, and you want the carbon to be -3. So when you add all of them, so if the cost here is really
So
high,
we put one forward, the one that we prefer.
yes, yeah,
And then we negotiate,
yes,
basically.
exactly.
Okay, and you get points for meeting your recommendations.
One, right?
Huh?
These
As a
recommendations are all
group,
there.
we got one.
As a group, you must choose 4. Oh,
You've got, you haven't got 9 or 10.
Maybe four, maybe mine can be
wild
one,
card.
but
Are you understanding?
We're having a go.
So yeah.
I think we are.
So yeah, so as a group, you suggest 2.
Mine has zero plus something like level, but it's not big on reducing carbon. It's only a -1.
Big concern about this cost.
How are you doing? Have you got 4?
Yes, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Great. So you have all the recommendations now. So now, what is the total cost when you add up the costs? And
So the total cost. The total cost, I have to. Oh my god, that's
add
why.
the costs.
5,
And
6,
6.
7. So 7 cost. -6. And -6 plus 4, -2.
So, for example, here, the cost here is way too high.
Yes, for me as well. Bloody hell.
So you need to have lower costs.
Okay. Can we then change the.
Cost of everyone.
So how are you doing?
We're good. We picked these 4,
Yeah.
okay, and they meet 2 of the recommendations, and then we aggregate these figures up here.
Yeah, the cost. So how much is your cost?
But the cost is 6, which is above all of these.
Yeah. So now you might want to change costs then.
So that means we don't.
So that means that no one gets any points for the project points.
So
So
in order
now
to get
you might want
points,
to change to reduce the costs, but then not everyone gets their recommendation.
only 4 cards.
Can we lower 3 cards or no?
No.
No, you need 4. Scientists want as many people to have recommendations as possible.
Right in here, each character and what their recommendation is, like cost effective and carbon effective is.
So now hopefully you're all at step 3, which is between you, you choose 4 cards and then you record it in the score sheet. So you will add up all the cost and all the carbon. And then if the costs, so here in this case it's +1, that's 2, -2, that's 0. So this cost is -1 for these cards. And the carbon for these ones is -2 as well. So if your objective meets that, you will get the points.
Well done. We need maybe to swap out. What have we got for? Yeah, have we got 4? Recommendation 4. Recommendation 2 or recommendation 1? No, that's 2. That's a 2. You've got recommendation 4. There's a recommendation 4 there. So the investor doesn't want to pay. Sounds like something like that. So they don't want to pay.
Well, maybe I'll ask this if you can make this work for you.
But these are 0 cost, so we can always use them.
So those 4 there is a set. But that would be -7 on carbon and +2 on cost.
Yeah, so who beats that?
Here we go.
Does that mean maybe you don't get the recommendations though?
Doesn't get the recommendations.
Get some of them.
They're not what we want, but they're
Well,
And
we
I
have
can't-
4 cards. You're only going to get 4
I can't align whole life purpose.
I see I hear you're getting closer. I forgot that there's actually a prize for the winning team to further incentivize you. They're the most coveted thing in COP. Pins. So you have UK Azerbaijan pin for the winning team.
Project points.
So I'll get to the points.
Okay.
All right, so we're at the final step now. It's counting your points. Oops. So you have your recommendation points. So if only one of your stakeholders has their recommendation, you get 0 points. If 2 of your stakeholders have their recommendation, you get 3. And if 4 of your stakeholders have their recommendation, then you get 10 points. And then on the project points, if you're a green person, you get 1 point for meeting your cost and carbon objective. If you're a yellow person, you get 2 points. And if you're a pink person, you get 3 points. So now you need to add all these points together. Oh, yeah, you just get those. Well, there's no point. That means you met it. You met it. So if you have. You met 4 recommendations?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say this one. Because
Oh, this one.
plus
Yes, very good. Very good. Yeah. And then we need one.
why don't you take this one? Together.
Yes, for sure.
You can, I mean,
So if you're a yellow person.
That's fine. It's a good power bank. I just want to show off any power bank. Oh, yeah.
So I'm a yellow person. I'm at
All right, cheese team. I've got you deep in thought.
Last.
All right.
Say that we won many
Same as well.
times.
UK government.
All right, have you got your sports? You understood it? Yes.
So how do we do this?
So how many
now?
people got their recommendation in your team?
4.
Maximum no, because the cost is high.
No, so there's 2 different sets of points. So for the recommendation, how many of you picked the recommendation that you wanted?
Oh,
All of us.
I did,
So
7.
you needed 7.
What's recommendation 5? We don't have 5.
No, you do have. No, you don't have
No,
5.
no, we have 7.
Do you have 6? No.
Mine, I think it's with you.
And you have 3.
Recommendations.
No, no, it's your his card.
No, it's with her, right?
No, no, you need. Where is your card? Yeah. So your recommendation is 3.
Yeah.
Your recommendation
6.
6. We didn't get that. 5. We didn't get that. So we got
So
2
you got 2. So
recommendations.
2 people, that means 3 points.
3 points.
Yeah.
Here?
Yeah. And now, for this one,
Yeah.
if you're a green person and you met your cost of carbon objective,
Is this the green?
this is pink.
Yeah, yeah.
So your cost is 0 and your carbon is -4.
Yeah.
What's the total?
It's +4 minus 11.
So it's too expensive for you, so you don't get any points.
I don't get any points.
What about
Okay.
you? 2 and 0. And
It's again.
too expensive for you as well. The cost is too high. So you don't get any points.
What about this?
Total
done,
cost.
yes.
Your total cost
No?
is 2. So yeah. So none of you get any points actually because your cost is also the cost is too high for all of you.
For me, it's
3. Your maximum cost is
Based on
3.
the cards we had, that was the lowest we can get in terms of.
Really? Smart. That's just the luck of the draw. So it means you get.
Yeah, this was the yes, because we put forward
we were trying to
the
push
list,
it for
the list,
negative,
the
not
list,
carbon.
list cost maximum saving.
So let's look at this. Yeah.
Okay, we've got some stragglers here who are rethinking their strategy, but we'll be nearly done. It's when you knew the pins were in the game, then suddenly everyone was points focused. All right, have you locked in? We're good. You're happy. I think you're doing pretty well actually, so you should be.
Prices. I've got some postcards. If you wanted to do a run of postcards. I've only got a few left.
All right, you've got 2 minutes to finish and say all your cards.
And if you really wanted to, this is a fan. Someone I gave it to me the other day. It's a fan, and
Oh, that's fine. It's
yeah.
just a run.
Best answers. I haven't updated it. My substantive role is now at government. I used to work at university for a while.
All right. Have you guys got your scores?
Five.
Do we have time to fill the new card?
So you've got a total cost now. Maybe use the card, that'll be easier. So you've got and your recommendations are 1, 7, 2, and 3. And which ones are good?
Matching.
So you've got 2 here, so you've got 3 points. And do all of you get your cost and carbon objectives? Oh yeah, so it's too expensive, so you don't get it. You're happy. Okay. So you get 1 point. What about you? I'm the host. So you get your yellow. You got your cast and carbon.
Yeah, she's meeting her
So you got
objective.
2.
Yeah, I'm by
You're
a
too expensive.
small
So
margin.
you got 3. So you got 6 points. Well done.
All right. So now what we're going to do, guys, because you're going to tell us your name, your strategy to win, and what your points, and we'll decide who's the winner.
Wait, hold on. What am I doing?
Tell us what your team name was, your strategy to win, and your points.
Okay, our team name was Carbon Crusaders, and our strategy was to look at, I guess, everyone's recommendations to begin with, and then create a cost and carbon range. So we had a total cost of 2 and a carbon of, I think that's -7, not -6. And so our recommendation points were 10, and our total project points were 8. Yes, total 18.
What about yourselves? What was your team name, your total points, and what your strategy was to win? Do you want to go?
Not after them. No, I don't want to go. Team name is the Zero Heroes.
And we've 1-0.
We thought we'd really done well actually, but and we actually had a few goes at it. But ultimately we got points of 10, and our strategy was to make sure everybody's recommendation was met, and be a little bit ignorant of the points on compliance.
Right, so you went for stakeholder happiness first. What about your team? What was your what was your total points? Sorry, 10. Okay, so you've got 10 and you've got 18. What about you? What was your team name and your total points, and what your strategy was to win?
So our team was Go Green, and the strategy initially started off with a little confused because everybody picked up the best ones. Then we realized we had kind of overshot both the parameters, so we kind of had a discussion internally. We brought it down, but our idea was to kind of minimize both the cost and the carbon. The minute we achieved our kind of the numbers, we stopped. I think we could have done better and optimized, which we didn't on afterthought, but our cost was 0. And the carbon was -6. We met about 3 recommendations. Total point 15.
Really well done. Looks like no one's beaten that team, Carbon Crusaders, yet. What about you? How did it go? Was your team name?
Cool gang.
So we are gang, and our strategy was not only to meet the expectations of the host nation, but how do we exceed it, especially given the urgency to reduce carbon emissions. So while the target was +3 on the cost side and -3 on the emissions, we were focusing on deep emission reduction. Also, how do we work together, collaborate on this? So we managed to meet the expectation on the cost part, 3, and on the carbon side, we managed to exceed by a factor of more than 3. So this is how we managed to achieve it. Yeah.
And what were your total points?
6. Yeah, so sometimes when you collaborate, you have to make people happy. So you give, some Yeah, you think some. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to give some to win some, which means our winning team is the Carbon Crusaders. So here you go. Here's the coveted prize, which is a UK Azerbaijan pin. Well done. Great. So now, really briefly, well, I know most people here collect pins, so it wasn't a long shot. So just here, quick discussion, but we don't really have so much time. So just some discussion points to think about. It was, what was your strategy as a team to achieve your objective, and what can this tell you about balancing the perspectives of stakeholders when meeting the challenges of climate change? And the second questions we were posing was, what would be the real-world implications of not achieving your objective? And using these actions, why would these approaches have worked or not worked? I'll start in thinking that, in general, we all strive for achieving things, but cost and tends to be quite a limiting factor, and it's quite hard to do these things. So I wonder whether, based on this, any of you have any thoughts on like these competing objectives and would like to share with the group, now that we all know each other really well.
Got there really quickly.
Basically, she thinks we should be negotiating because these guys got 18 points, so I would tend to agree. Anyone else has any thoughts on any of these questions? Yeah, it's luck of the draw. That's a good point. Like, yeah, depending on what the stakeholders want, you might achieve different outcomes, or be in a bubble thinking that certain outcomes work and others don't. So this will take us to our final slide, which is how we use these recommendations in the real... and I really want to thank as well the rest of my team who came up with this game. So it's not me alone, it's the team. So it was Owen's idea in the first place to do a game. I hope you enjoyed it. But we also got help from all these other people, my department, Charles, James, Conan, and we've been planning this for the last few weeks. So we hope you enjoy doing something a bit different. And yeah, let us know if you ever want to get access to the game, or maybe hone the explanations a little bit. And you could download it, or we could share it with you. So yeah, just to tell you a bit on what we're doing. So these 10 recommendations, we developed them because we think whole life cycle underpins a lot of what's happening in the buildings breakthrough. And we're using these in different ways. So first, we're publishing a toolkit for policymakers with training resources on whole life cycle related to these recommendations. Secondly, we're launching a digital case study library. So you can go on this website and upload your case study if you're doing one of these recommendations. I know ICC put a few case studies. And also we're developing a global whole life carbon tracker so that countries can compare themselves with other countries and know where their whole life carbon stands. Just wanted to show you briefly the case study library. We got 43 case studies from, I don't know how many different countries, but quite a lot of different countries. And I just put 2 here. For example, we received one by the US Wood Association, who have an automated data collection process for their timber. In Brazil, they have developed a database with really simple embodied emissions, which only require energy consumption and material quantities to know what your emissions are of your materials. And if you want to find out about a lot more, you can go to the website and look at them. Or if you're doing anything related to these 10 recommendations, please just go on that website and tell us so that everyone else can find out about this, because that's the aim of the Whole Life Cycle Policy Coalition, is to just raise awareness about this, but also have a place where you can find this information out. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for participating. Look forward to chatting with you. I'll stick around here and have a coffee. Do contact me, and do let us know what you thought about this. And yeah, very, very thankful for your engagement today.